Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name's Connor Williams, joined by Cal Brannan, and this is the January monthly review. A lot to talk about before we get into the games. Obviously, there's Sean Dyche's departure from the club, the nostalgic hit of Baines and Coleman on the touchline for Peterborough. David Moyes carrying on the nostalgic hit, coming back to Everton Football Club, and a transfer window where Everton signs some lad from, the South American leagues on the final day, which also feels slightly nostalgic, signing I'm not going to say unknown because he did have a stint at Southampton, but I mean, I don't know how many people were watching him at Southampton and can have fond memories of him. So those Premier League experience, slightly, I'm going to say relatively unknown. We'll try and run through this as quickly so we can get into the games because there was a lot to do in January. But I guess we better start with Sean Dyche then. Give us your thoughts, Cal.
Glad he's gone in the nicest way possible. I think we'll get into it, but I think you notice the difference in quality of manager between David Moyes and Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche was just, I guess, reliant on his system to a fault, really. When we've already seen under Moyes that he's willing to make changes to accommodate different players. In the most recent game with Beto, after losing Calvert-Lewin, the style of play was a little bit different to accommodate Beto. And I just think, even under Baines and Coleman, I know it was against Peterborough in League One, but it felt like as soon as he left, these players actually expressed themselves a bit more. And we've seen players who we thought were absolutely hopeless. Suddenly, they've learned how to play football, and it's, what is it now? 4 games, and that is, and then Bournemouth and Liverpool next. If those players we're mentioning have decent games against those two good sides, then I think it's clear what the problem was. And I know you can't pin all the blame on the manager, but players don't just miraculously get better unless they were being used wrong. And I think, unfortunately for Sean Dyche, I do appreciate everything he did for us when we didn't have a little bit more quality like we do this season. Some people may argue that, but then Dyche should probably be paying for a team fighting for a Conference League spot, not towards the bottom. Well, not even that far to the bottom of the table now, but I think there's clear quality in this team, and I just think he just mismanaged it, to be honest with you. So I hope he bounces back on his feet. I do. I don't dislike the guy or anything. I just don't think he was the right manager for where we want to go in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to argue this against the sacking, wouldn't it? Because the proof's in the pudding a month in that, David Moyes is coming. I know there's always is it a new manager bounce, but the way we play is a lot better to watch. We press quite well as well. I will say that I thought as it went on, it felt like it needed to happen, really, didn't it? And there were reports coming out that he'd sort of lost his temper and said, I've done all I can with this team. And apparently the club turned around and said, we'll take that as your resignation. It sounds a bit like the players were in a rut and a bit sick of it from what we're hearing from the journalists coming out of this sacking. It sounded like Sean Dyche, although he might not have wanted to admit it, was a bit stuck in a rut. And the club was definitely stuck in a rut and showing. So I think the break, although it's, it's probably not nice to be sacked, and he will land on his feet again, I'm sure. I've got this feeling Leicester will probably come sniffing if Ruud van Nistelrooy doesn't change their fortunes. But it looked like it. I think the club needed it. I think everyone involved needed it. Everyone was sort of being dragged in with it. Fans were being dragged down by it as well. And the mood seems a bit, it's Everton, and as fans, we'll always have something to moan about. It's the beer for the stadium now, I think, today. But it's a lot better. Like, the mood around the fan base is better recently, which is good to see. It makes social media a lot easier to digest. But yeah, so we then move on to David Moyes. The Peterborough game will brush over slightly because although it was a good nostalgic hit, it was a bloody god-awful game to watch.
It looked like 2 League One sides playing against each other. I don't. We dominated a majority of the game, but didn't really do much. We made Peterborough look a lot better than they are sometimes. I think a few of them, and then our famous anti-nepotism friend Darren Ferguson didn't want to give the young family their moment, and I'm going to take every chance I get to say this. Hopefully, I never have a chance to get employed at Peterborough, but what a twat! Just get that out there publicly. Just to be honest with you, I think it's just like, yeah, for me, I think that's the talking point of the game. Just like I know a lot of people try to defend him that they were 1-0 and they weren't scoring. Let's not be silly now. They had a few moments, but they were never scoring. Bloody Michael Keane got a good match rating. That's how you know they weren't scoring. It's bloody. It was just. I mean, Harrison Armstrong looked really good. I think that's a standout. He got an assist for because the second was a penalty, so he assisted better, which was really nice. And yeah, not really much to talk about. Nice bit of nostalgia. Their manager throwing a tantrum, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll cover it when we cover the matches because that is all you got to say. Like that is all you can say on the game. It was a bit weird. The only other thing is as well, Baines are coming. Obviously, it's their first time doing that, so you have to take that into account. And also, they'd only been told they were doing it like 2 hours before kickoff, which is not helpful at all, really. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get that caretaker job like role again. It's almost like when we used to call Unsworth every 18 months to do it. I'm sure they'll get the opportunity again, hopefully with a bit more preparation time. But David Moyes returning to the club, really nice to see. That was felt like a manager that was always potentially going to come back. He'd been close a couple of times before, sort of bridesmaid, never the bride, and then returned. Give us your thoughts on David Moyes' return. Obviously, pre-results because we'll get into the results. But were you happy at the time?
Yeah, I was. But it was the safe hire, wasn't it? It was the one where you went, if it happened, you looked at it and went, I can't complain, nothing wrong with it. Would some people, even including myself, would have liked a bit more ambition at the time? Yeah, I think everyone would. That's not a knock on Moyes, but obviously I think everyone wants the football club to be ambitious. But I mean, sometimes look at how it can go wrong. Look at Brighton recently getting 7-0 and stuff like that. Sometimes it can't, and that's an ambitious hire, giving someone who's younger than players in the squad the job in charge. But like, I do think it was the right hire. I think we said it at the time was that the club needs stability, and I mean, is there any more stable managers in the Premier League? You know, Pep Guardiola's on a skid. It's Arne Slot's first season. Like Arteta, Nuno. I think there's very few stable managers in the Premier League. David Moyes is one of them. To the point now where now we are. If I can check last 5 matches since Moyes has had 4 of them. I mean, all of the points have come from Moyes in the last 5 games. So it's one of those where it's a smart hire in the sense of that we were 100% not going to be in danger if we brought Moyes in. We were going to get to a point where we were well away from the relegation zone. And yeah, I think including the performances now, it looks even better now. And I know it's only been 4 games, but, you know, let's not forget that there's only, when we brought him in, so there will have been 18 games left, not including the Cup. So, that's a quarter of the games left, and he should have got maximum points. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, I think it's fantastic hire. Even at the time, safe hire, but very good hire, very smart from the Friedkins.
Yeah, and then the final one, which we'll do, is the transfer window. Obviously, only one signing, and it was Alcaraz. I mean, give me your thoughts on the player, but give me your thoughts on the window as a whole. I saw people saying that obviously when it opened, people were panicking, saying we need this and that and this. And then because results had gone our way, which we'll get into, sort of people were more relaxed. We're like, oh, the club were right not to, go off the handle and start trying to buy anyone and everyone and trying to work for the right deals. Give us your thoughts. I can see both sides of it, and I still think we need those players, but I think it's more now wait till the summer, isn't it? Because January is a horrible time to be buying players.
Yeah, I said this in the deadline day stream we did the other day, that the answer usually always lies in the middle, and that's what it is. We should have bought more than one player in. Like, because look at the squad depth. Mangala's had to go because of injury. We've only got one fit striker at the moment, unless you count Ilman and Dye, but I'm not, because who realistically in 2025 wants to see Jack Harrison playing for Everton? Should we have done more? Yeah, probably. But I think it's one of those where I can understand it. I've sold myself into the Alcaraz hype after doing like a deep dive into him on the stream the other night, which was basically he's been an above average to good player whenever he's been given minutes. So it's one of those where even for Southampton, we ended up finding out that he played like half of a season in the Championship as well, which we didn't know. So he looks a good player. It would have been nice to get a striker in or a midfielder in, but I do understand that the reason we didn't do that is because Chelsea were being arsy about sending Broya back. So it's one of those where, and again, could we have predicted the Mangala injury? No, not really. So it's one of those where I can understand it. And yeah, I think it was pretty good overall. We'll have to see how Alcaraz does. And
yeah, I think you're right. I think it is sort of somewhere in the middle. We do need the players, but I don't think I'd rather others have we don't need them. I'd rather us wait, get our targets properly sorted, and whatever's happening with the director of football, if Farewell is leaving, sort that out and go again in the summer, then pay potentially overpriced. And like you said, there are issues with the fact we've used loan spots up. Couldn't predict Bro's. I mean, he is injury prone, so you could argue that there were signs, but you can't predict him, kicking the floor and injuring himself. That's just peak Everton. And Mangala as well. You couldn't write that game off either with the amount of players. It's insane.
I think a lot of us forgot how good James Garner could be, which was why there were a lot of panic. And again, we'll get into Garner more when we talk about the Leicester game. But yeah, it's just so unfortunate because he was such a good player and we were probably going to be able to get him for like 15 mil. If I'm going to be brutally honest with you, I'd still consider it in the summer. I'd still happily do it in the summer because we know he's good enough. He's definitely a good enough squad option. And yeah, to be honest with you, I'd love to see us go back in for him because I think you can see the fans liked him, he liked the club. And I honestly won't surprise me if Leon are willing to sell him for even cheaper now because of the injury. And to be honest with you, he's an athletic player, but he's not someone very reliant on his athleticism. He was more get the ball, play it around. And I don't think you lose that even after an ACL test. So I am going to put it out here now that I would like to see us to go in for Mangala in the summer just as a squad option because I think Decore's contract up in the summer.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if we can.
Decore's gone, to be honest with you. He should be gone.
Yeah, there were rumours last year he was going to leave.
Just again his last year as well, or did he sign an extension? I feel like he might have signed an extension.
Possibly. I mean, even if he hasn't, I can see the club giving him one more.
26 at the latest for Gay. He's been one of our best players, so I'm happy to say that. But he's going to be 35. You know how football works, man. And they could have a brilliant season, and the next season the legs just give out on them. So I think we're going to need a lot of midfield depth in the summer. A lot of midfield depth in the summer. So I wouldn't mind bringing Mangala back, but that one's really unfortunate. And then obviously we'll get into it when we talk about it with Calvert-Lewin as well. We're just at that stage of the season. It happens at this point every season. It happened under Ancelotti when we thought we were going to get the Champions League, and then the entire squad got injured at the same time.
Yeah, it's just that time of year, isn't it? Fixtures come in quick and heavy. Although saying that, we're not in many competitions to be saying that, but
not for much longer anyway.
We'll kick off with Bournemouth at the Vitality. 1-0, Brooks goal. Sean Dyche's last game at the club. Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about, is there? It was just boring, unambitious, crap football, and another sign of Bournemouth getting a manager sacked for us.
Broja went off injured as well. This was writing on the wall. Is this the game where he kicked the lump of the ground, or is this because he played again? Didn't he? Had a brief
was it? No, let me think. Did he replace Calvert-Lewin when he got injured?
Yeah.
Or was that better?
Or was it Peterborough? Or Villa? Broja's defo played since I can't remember what game he kicked them out, which is almost certainly what caused his injury. Unfortunate. This is definitely what injured him. The Peterborough game, I think he just came back too early, or was still carrying the knock, and obviously the tackle didn't help. But I'm almost convinced that when he kicks the floor, that's what has started the injury. but like you said, it's just an uninspiring game. Not many chances created. We'll get into, obviously, we'll mention chances created now in our games that we've had since Dyche's disposal, but it's night and day. Like the amount of shots we're getting away, and they're good quality shots. And one big chance created against Bournemouth, it's just something else. And like, fair play to Bournemouth because they're a good squad with a good manager, but gosh, we make it easy sometimes.
We did under him. I think it's weird that our manager's entire identity is based on like defensive structures, so like the toughness, and we were probably like the opposite of toughest team in the league. Felt like we laid down for anyone.
Yeah, it's been a tough. I mean, to be fair, up until then, we'd looking at it, we'd had a couple of clean sheets, but you can't.
But it's like, I know a lot of people praise that, but like, I think a 12-year-old off the street could keep clean sheets with if you just sat the entire team behind the ball. I don't think that's got anything to do with tactics. That's just got to do with you're outnumbering them, and then we're lucky enough to have decent defenders who are willing to throw themselves at the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps, but I think the big thing you learn is you can't win games without scoring, and it was almost like one or two halves under Dyche. Even last year, it was like we either shut up shop, keep clean sheets, but our goals, we're lucky if we get one, or the games that we actually scored more, we were like wide open at the back and we're conceding as well.
Oh, it's like we'd score one. It'd be blatantly obvious we could get another. And he'd just go, yeah, sit back, lads. And it's like, it was and then there's just certain stuff. And it's like for example, in December, if Moyes is our manager, genuinely, I think we win all three of those games. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. Obviously that's me clutching at straws, but if the opposition plays the same way they did and we had Moyes, we win all those games. Because there's not been an issue defensively. The only issue defensively was when someone came off the bench against Spurs. So it's like, it's one of those where it's just really disappointing because the thing is with Dyche is one of those managers you want to like because, he's funny. You've got your utter woke nonsense, funny pictures and stuff like that, and he's got like a lot. If you watch Premier League funny moments, he's on loads of them. And he's outside of football, lovely bloke, clearly, really likable. But again, I do think he reached a ceiling with the team, or reached the ceiling of what he saw. Do I think the players wanted him out? Probably, to be honest with you. I think and it's understandable with the football, especially if they believe they could do better. Do I think the players let him down a bit? Probably in the sense that I do think some of them probably just went, I'm done with this, I've had enough now. But then, we go into Villa and you notice the difference straight away.
Yeah. Before we go on to the Villa game, Peterborough we're not going to talk much about because we've already covered that, I feel like. But it was nice to see first game 2 hours after he's gone. It was nice to see some of the lads that we hadn't seen before or in a while. O'Brien we hadn't seen in a while. Patterson we hadn't seen in a while. Armstrong we hadn't seen in a while. And even Beto wasn't exactly completely always in favour. So it just seemed like once he'd gone, three of the lads who weren't getting a shut in were getting all of a sudden getting game time.
The mental part is two of the three of those lads have been fantastic since fantastic. O'Brien more so because he's played a bit more, but like he ain't put a foot wrong. He's playing out of position. Well, he's not playing out of position. It's classic David Moyes at Everton in it, chucking a centre back at right back. But O'Brien makes me feel a lot more comfortable about the eventual loss of Tarkowski. It's not a thought right now, but what is he, 33 now? 32, 33? He's quite old. We're next 2 or 3 seasons, he's probably gone, to be honest with you. And O'Brien makes me feel a lot more comfortable, and I think just his ability on the ball is clear. It's clear that, and the thing is, he's still so young. What is he, 22, 23?
Yeah.
There's no reason that in 3 years' time, when if Moyes goes, obviously, if Moyes gets us contending for the league, he's not going to go. But if it does what at West Ham, which is I think what the club are looking at right now, which is having push up the table and then see if we can get an ambitious hiring in. We bring in a man, somehow, touch wood, are able to bring in a really good manager, progressive, wants to play the ball. That manager, who is going to want to play out at the back, is going to be salivating at the thought of having O'Brien and Braithwaite at the back. If we can do Braithwaite, that is.
He's a big lad as well, O'Brien. My dad
they both are, aren't they? Braithwaite. It's like they're both 6'5" and above. It's ridiculous.
My dad is constantly telling me how he thinks O'Brien is an absolute man mountain. Crazy. We move on to the Villa game, which is probably fitting that you mentioned Braithwaite, because this might have been the worst game I've ever seen him play for Everton. Tough game, really tough. I thought Villa were for the taking at times. I don't watch an awful lot of Villa, apart from like the 2 guaranteed games they play us. If they pass out the back with their back 4 and Emi Martinez like that every game, I am surprised they don't get caught out more often. I thought we could nick a couple of them.
I got a Villa fan mate, so I can comment about it. It's Mings. Mings is a decent centre-half, but the difference when they've got Pau Torres there, the security, and then obviously Kamara usually comes in. And I do think they got they got lucky and unlucky in a sense in this game. That Onana, I don't know how he's got a 7.5 on here, was terrible.
I think he was lucky to stay on the pitch.
He was.
As well.
I'm not going to lie to you, the referees were up Villa's arsehole game. Which is weird, because do you know what? I'll give Villa fans the credit. They get done in by referees so much. They're up there with us for the team that gets absolutely mugged off by referees usually. But it's just... let me see. So he got the yellow card, I think, on his first foul. And it says here he's committed 3 fouls. It was definitely more than that. I think he had a few advantages go his way as well. So it's one of those where the tackles are just... A few of them were just a bit dangerous as well. I think you could tell that he didn't like the reception he got at Goodison. And it was like he was trying to stamp his authority on the game, but did it dreadfully. I think the lad next to him, Kamara, were fantastic. And I think we do genuinely win the game if it's not for him. And that's a positive. That's it, without including Morgan Rogers turning into Brock Lesnar off a corner, or Tielemans putting Calvert-Lewin in a chokehold, and, stuff like that. I just think it's not a dig at Villa, because, Pickford wasn't very good, was against his usual standard. Braithwaite was horrendous, and Dyche was horrendous as well, to be honest with you. Decore did a Decore and stunk. Harrison stunk. It was unlucky. It was, and it was just one of those where, a lot of it is, you could say we should have took our chances, Calvert-Lewin especially. He did get very unlucky that Kamara cleared that one off the line. I'll give him that credit. And I do think giving him a 6 is a bit, like I usually look at the FootMob scores when we do this. I think giving him a 6 is a bit disingenuous for what he did. He had 3 shots, only one of them on target, but one of the one at the end where he skies it, that's probably why it lowered it so much, because you can't be missing that. But we should have got a penalty, 100%, no doubt. A cut penalty. One of the 2 is a penalty. Let's just put it that simple. If you don't think the Rodgers one is, the Tielemans one definitely is. And it's but I think the standouts. I think Mikalenko's really good. I think Lindstrom impressed off the bench, and I think that was been the story of ever since Moyes come in. Really, I think. They're the 2 players that I think have probably been the most improved under Moyes. And I think this one, when you look at if you didn't watch the game and you look at the match ratings, you probably thought, typical Everton, crap again. I think this is the start. I think going against a really good side like Villa, let's not forget we've just got a top 8 Champions League finish that are still in the race for the Champions League. And thankfully, we don't have to play them again this season now because of that end of that January. But I think it was a really good sign of what was to come, and I think unfortunately their goal was just, and Dyche gives the ball away, Braithwaite's in no man's land, and we get caught. But it was a good sign of what was to come.
Yeah, it was. This was a Right, this was a game. You had Ashley Young's absolutely lethal back pass dead early on. You had
Don't know.
Morgan Rogers with the volley where it goes wide, but if that goes on target, that's up there for potential goal of the season.
Is that all Pickford saves?
Yeah, is it?
Or
Does he
does it go
save it or does he go
wide?
wide? It either goes right at him or it goes wide, but it's an incredible strike first time on the volley with a lot of power.
Yeah, he's a good player, Rogers. He's really good, to be fair.
Branthwaite, I'm sure, got caught out twice coming up to push out the
The
defensive
first time
line.
Tarkowski saved him.
Yeah, second time was obviously for the goal. Not a player that makes a lot of mistakes, so I'm not going to completely hang him out to dry over it, and he's a very good player. But yeah, just unlucky. And like you said, there were a couple of, us and potential penalties. There are more. There's one recently on Beto, but this one they were all over us for the corners. I'd love to know where the line is between defending a corner and it's just a bit of a tussle and just foot out.
I can answer that one for you. It's your league position. The higher you are, the more likely you are to get given it, and it is true. It's like I don't get. It's not corruption. I'm not stupid. Referees don't go into the game and go, "We're gonna do Everton over today." Just notice the coincidences. Whenever we get these penalty calls, it's in a game where us losing would probably be the most ideal outcome. For the sake of the league-wide thing, even against Leicester win the relegation race becomes much more interesting then, doesn't it? It's so yeah, it's a coincidence, and it's weird that it happens to us so much, but I don't think that's like some of the fans on Twitter are like the refs have an agenda against us. No, the refs just aren't very good at their job, to be honest with you. That's just unfortunately the landscape we're in this country right now.
Yeah, I was going to say every team can pick about 3 or 4 points this season where they think the refs been a bit biased. But moving on from that, this is where the hat trick of wins come. One of them we won't cover because it bounced into February, so we'll do that on February's. But Spurs, big game this. At home, 3-2, Calvert-Lewin and Dyche getting our goals, and then Gray own goal. Kuleveski with a really, really lovely finish, but Pickford shouldn't have been off his line like that. And Richarlison with, again, a really nice finish, and it was a great ball to him.
Convinced we let him score that.
He was nailed on to score, wasn't he?
I'm convinced Michael Keane's looked at him and gone, we can't not let you score at your last game at Goodison. Come on. You're not going to win the game. Come on, have it. It will be nice. I'm convinced.
Last year, he just scores against us so easily.
I mean, it's Michael Keane, isn't it? We'll focus on the positives for now before I go on my little Michael Keane rant, and that he should please just get rid of him in the summer, man. The bloke's horrendous. Really good all around. I can pick out one bad performance, and it's the usual, Mr. Stinky Abdoulaye Doucouré, Mr. 6.2 rating every game. It's like I love Doucouré, and that's the thing is I think I do whenever I'm on here I'm slagging off Doucouré, which probably sounds like I hate him. I don't. I appreciate everything he's done, but the bloke's legs are going right in front of us. It's weird because he can still run for 90 minutes, but it's like at the cost of being able to run for 90 minutes, he can't pass a ball, he can't shoot the ball, which, I mean, that's ironic considering how February starts, but yeah, but he's just terrible. It's the February game, but even then he scored in the first 10 seconds and was crap for the rest of the game. It's like, so it's one of those where he was just horrendous, man, and he was really bad. And it's why we got Alcaraz in, because he plays a similar role to Doucouré, similar energy, but it's just much better on the ball. But yeah, everyone was good besides Doucouré, to be honest with you. Calvert-Lewin was fantastic, looked a lot closer to himself under Ancelotti. Both centre-backs were great. O'Brien really fit into that right-back role well, and I do think Moyes wants to move us to a 3 at the back next season. I really do think that's what he's going to do. Because, I mean, I get it. You want to get your best players on the pitch, and let's face facts. O'Brien is one of our 11 best players. his ability to play those nice little switch balls, fantastic. He's really good at just being able to get it over to Mikalenko on the overlap or in Dyche. And the funny thing is, especially we're going to mention about Mikalenko because I thought he got an assist this game, but they were both it were two Idrissa Gueye and then or did he cross the ball in that Gray ended up heading in, or was that in Dyche?
It might have been.
It was one of the players on the left, I'm pretty sure, but. Mikalenko, I don't know what Leighton Baines has done, but he's taught him how to cross a ball. His overlaps are usually really well timed. He's been defensively really good. And again, do I think should be our starting left back? Probably not next season, unless he keeps this up every game for the rest of the season, to the point where we like. But I think he's similar to Dyche in a weird way, where we got the best out of Dyche when I think he'll be the same way when there was competition, when there was someone who could nudge him a bit, and I think it's just even crap players. The weird part with Dyche is we'd get the worst left back you've ever seen to back him up, and it'd still make him perform just because there wasn't someone else there. But yeah, it's really weird. Idrissa Gueye, 2 assists, fantastic again. Probably our best player, him or Dyche, our best player this season, I'd say. Lindstrom. I think is Lindstrom probably the standout story since Moyes has come in, because
he's certainly improved.
I think he's been one of our best players under Moyes.
Yeah, this game in particular, he was really good. So was Idrissa Gueye, rolling back the years.
Yeah, I think it's just I think again, it's weird that there's not much to talk about in a game where we beat. I mean, say we beat a good side. Spurs aren't a good side anymore. Or right now they're not. But
only Everton though could make a 3-0. Like you could be 3-0 up in the 75th minute, and only Everton Football Club, where fans are going, "We need another one here."
Yeah. Well, it's the Michael Keane effect, isn't it? And he comes on in the 88th minute. The Kulusevski goal's not his fault.
That's Pickford.
It's Pickford's fault. It's Pickford's fault. But come on, man. The Richarlison one, it's the easiest header on planet Earth to get it out. And do you know what the thing is? Richarlison scores there because he looks and he goes, "Who's the defender in front of me? Michael Keane, buzzing, I've scored."
Yeah, that
Richarlison sat there thinking, if that's Tarkowski, I'm not scoring. If that's O'Brien, I'm not scoring. It's you, buzzing, let me get in position because I've scored here.
Yeah, he shouldn't really be being beaten there, but that ball from there, Mikey Moore, is a fantastic.
Yeah, he's a good little player for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, it's an incredible.
He came on and immediately started terrorizing. Was it Mikalenko? Yeah, he came on the right, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm just relieved that Richarlison's goal was the 92nd minute, because if it was like the 85th.
It would have Bournemouth.
It would have, yeah.
But it's always weird when we mention these Tottenham games as well. Richarlison got another really good reception after the game. Seemed more interested in basking in our fans than the Spurs fans again.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's nice for us, but if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be like, if someone was doing that at Everton, I'd be fuming.
Dele Alli does the same thing though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know, and that caused a fume as well.
No, but I kind of get it in this one. I'd let him off if I were a Spurs fan in this like one situation compared to the others, because it's his last game at the stadium and stuff like that. And
it's very similar to Dele. Like, they both struggled with injuries, haven't played a lot. So when Dele Alli did it caused a bit of a
with Dele Alli, I don't get why our fans get so angry, because we play Spurs, of course he's going to go like give a little clap to the Spurs fans before he.
It was that video, wasn't it? He put, but like, to be honest, that was his peak playing for Spurs.
What career highlight does he have for us?
Yeah.
And he has the Crystal Palace game. That's it. That's all he has.
Yeah, like literally, I was thinking, I was like, well, yeah, obviously he's going to share that video. He's not done anything for us of any note against Spurs.
What's Richarlison going to share? Mainly Brazil and Everton highlights, because that's where all his highlights are.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's just typical silly football fans. It's not just Everton fans. Every football fan base does it.
I know Spurs fans are genuinely quite irritated by the fact that Richarlison does it, which
Spurs fans are irritated about everything right now because they're shite, to be honest with you. But it's one of those, like, what stupid thing I get annoyed about. Like, I don't know. It's weird for someone who's, my life so much involved in football in other hands, but it's like, I don't get how you care that much.
Yeah, it's
shocking. It's like shocking. Person appreciates being shown appreciation. You know what I mean? It's honestly as well. Like, surely you'd be happier if your player did that, because if they're cheering him and he just airs them, it just makes him look like a bit of a prick, really, doesn't it? It's just, if you look at it it's the same situation as, like, imagine you hold a door open for someone and they don't say thank you to you. It annoys you a little bit. It's the same situation, just on a football. I just think it's just an example of some people just need to get on with their lives a bit instead of complaining about everything.
Yeah, it's a mad one, but it was 3 points and it was very needed. What was our last win before that? Because if you put a few wins before that, if you put a few
Wolves?
wins there, it's not too bad.
It'll have been Wolves, won't it?
So that's I'll know Peterborough in the cup, but yeah, our next Premier League win came like over a month.
A month and a half.
Yeah, a month and a half after. That's like 7 That's 7 games since a win. Like it was desperately needed, and it settles up nicely for Brighton, who
let me get that.
Very, very good team. They are struggling at the minute, it seems, but they are still a good team.
Do you know what my thing is, though? Like, this season,
they weren't very good here. Like,
it's like, I don't know. Like, I know they're doing well in the table, but this Brighton team feels like the worst one I can remember. Even like the Potter ones where they were finishing like 16th felt a bit better than this. I just feels like there's not. They just felt like they were not there. And like every time we play Brighton, Matoma bums us every time without fail. It's a guarantee. He's one of those players where, if we're looking at an Everton game and let's say you're gambling on it, 90% of Everton fans are doing Matoma score or assist, just because they know it happens every game. And then they were terrible. The young defensive midfielder were all right. Lamptey caused a few problems going forward, but were terrible defensively. That Veltman were good, but tried to kill one of our players. And the centre backs were good. And then, but yeah, it didn't feel like Brighton, which is weird because it's not like Brighton are some huge club, but it's like you always feel like it's going to be a game. And it was in a sense, but like, do you know what I mean when I say I just didn't really feel like we were going to concede?
Yeah,
I think feeling.
I think the game was spiced up a little bit by Ndai's celebration, which we'll go on to talk about in a minute because there's stuff come out since then. But yeah, I get what you mean. I didn't see much of a threat from Brighton. The biggest killer from this was the injuries. This is obviously, and we'll get on to them as well, but this is where Calvert-Lewin and Mangala came from. At one point, we were down to like 10 men because of the subs.
We were for the last 10 minutes. We were down to 10 men and still beat them.
That was, because it got to a point where it was they shoot from anywhere, we get a block in, goes to a corner, we can defend them all day, every day. And it almost felt like the back four towards the last 10 minutes, 10, 15 plus the added, we're just like, we'll just do this all day. We just need to grind out the last 10.
Yeah, when you've got what have we got across the back? We've got 6'5", 6'6", and Tarkovsky's like 6'2".
Yeah.
I think their hope was just please get on Lewis Dunk's head. That was their hope at the end of the game. And but yeah, it was just, I don't know. I didn't realise Brighton were this much of a dirty team, to be honest with you.
Well, I think obviously the penalty, development penalty, which I do think is a penalty. It looked a little bit intentional in my opinion, but I know people are like, even if his hand isn't meant and it wasn't intentional, I'm sorry, I've seen worse given. There's
no chance it's not intentional. You watch his hand motion towards the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if his hand's still and it comes off his hand, that's unlucky. But his hand motions towards the ball.
But
You
I've
can
seen
tell.
worse given. I've seen worse, and the
You don't,
Kimpembe in the Champions League got it for
it's
like
mental.
here. So
I don't get how the fans try to argue it. I get at the stadium, right? If you were at the ground,
yeah,
you
because
probably did.
you don't get the
But like
replays.
on the replay on the screen, you watch him look at the ball, move his hand. You know what? It's like it's such a stupid thing. And do you know what? We do the same thing. Our fans would do the same thing. It's just what you do. But
Yeah,
it's like, uh, yeah, it's just we get the penalty. Really, really good penalty from a Dyche again. And Dyche is such a good penalty taker, is the credit I'll give him. Because Verbruggen does fantastic to guess the right way. Goes full extension, but on Dyche places it so well that it's just he'd have to be bloody like the Big Show size to save it or something like that. You'd have to be 7 foot tall.
I didn't realize this for Bruggen was such a pain in the backside either. Like, I mean, not the penalty protest because I mean, and the fact he was trying to distract because we literally celebrate Pickford, who does the same. But
Yeah, we
he was involved at the end. I did, like you said, I didn't have Brighton down as such a feisty
but it's
team.
not. I don't even think it's feisty. It's just dirty. It's
They
like
were just mad.
if we did this, there'd be calls for us to get a points deduction.
It was absolutely. I mean, the booking for the celebration. Obviously, they've come out
That's
now and said
ridiculous.
that they're thinking of. I mean, I hope Jamie Vardy gets his retrospective cards then because he's been doing it for the
Jamie
last
Vardy
2
just gets
years.
banned from the Premier League.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
so stupid because like you
it's
should be
soft.
allowed. If Brighton did that to us, I don't know what celebration you could do to wind those up, but like,
Toffee mint.
yeah, like shush our fans or something. But you know what I mean? Like, or like, but like, it's a bit of fun.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
booed him, and he's had a pot back at him. So what?
It is. It's mental. I don't think anything will come of it. This is one of those yellow. It's the Umar Nias simulation ban, isn't it? Where they'll say they're going to look at it. It won't get looked at, and it'll just be Ndiaye that ever gets a yellow card for it.
I want to keep doing it now.
I mean, it's just really soft. It's showing where the state of football's at. There's bigger problems in the world and bigger problems in football than somebody doing a bird celebration to a
Yeah,
club
like
that's got
you
a
know,
bird
I
in a
get if it
badge.
was something offensive. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
like
Like, but it's not. It's a like, yeah, realistically, like you should be allowed. Like the Jamie Vardy stuff, yeah, let him do it. Who cares if he slide tackles a corner flag? But it's like the most entertaining part of this is the end of the game for me.
yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, Brighton fans. I'm not trying to take the mick out of your players here, but Yakuba Minter goes and tries to start a fight with someone. Tarkovsky gets in his way, and I've never seen a player shit themselves so quickly. Just all it's like do you know do you remember like cartoons where you were younger and someone would fight someone and they'd do like the thing if they were really tall where the camera would go up for ages and look up at them. Minter
yeah,
did that in real life, and I'm just like, you can't. But yeah, at that point, you've just got to accept what's going to happen because it
yeah.
was like
It's
it was so funny at the end of the game. Just watching Begovic flying from out of nowhere, man. It was so
Begovic was the
funny.
one, wasn't he? He was all over it. He's massive as well. Begovic, fair play.
Yeah, it was.
Obviously goalkeeper, so he's going to be big, but he's huge. I didn't realize how big he was. Forgot what he looked like for a large part because I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
But
but it's like it was such a weird thing because like I don't think that a lot of it would just players pulling apart. The only player there's players that I think wanted to was that João Pedro, who's up there for the dirtiest player he is the dirtiest
yeah,
player in the Premier League quite
he's
comfortably.
a he's a dirty boy, isn't he? That elbow
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago is lethal. That's
even the yellow against us, it's
mm,
like I've never seen someone get away with so many of that. Just should be a red card, flat out. Because like I get some of them, he might not catch them right, but like surely with some red cards, intent's got to go into it. He's never going for the ball with some of these. And do you know what? If you play for Everton, we'd love it. We'd love
yeah,
it. It's just South American, isn't it? It's what they do. Anything to stop
yeah.
the other team from scoring. I get it. And it's quite funny, but bloody hell, man. The guy just goes, at some points, I'm convinced he just goes, oh, we're losing. It's like that Roy Keane thing. Sometimes you just feel like you've got to smash into someone. And part of me appreciates it because I'm like, you know what? If Beto did that halfway through a game, I think he'd get a standing ovation at the end of the game, even if he were crap. So, but it's so funny that the game against Brighton is the game that's caused the big almost scrap after the game.
Well, so far, the game's come soon. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And then obviously Mangala injured as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin is, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw Brozier is like not as long as they thought. Calvert-Lewin is also not as long as they thought, which is, I think, why we're not buying a striker as well, because we expect them to be back before the end of the
It's all
season.
not as long as we thought, is it? Even McNeil's not as long because they
He's
said
had
it was
knee
only a
injury.
minor surgery that he needed in the end.
Yeah, wasn't it keyhole?
Something like that, yeah. It
Yeah.
was, but it was. It said it was only a minor injury.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's
Mangala unfortunately ended the season. But like, what it was development tackle that took Mangala out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's another one here where it's like not back to back games. He should have had a red card at that point. He should. I don't get how he don't get a yellow for the handball. And then it's dangerous, isn't it? And it's like if that happened to us, one of our players has got a yellow and a red at that point. And it's just like, but yeah, made me appreciate Brighton a little bit more. I didn't know like they had this in them.
Yeah,
didn't know they had that dog in them like that. You know, they were fuming.
I think they get labelled as a hipster football club far too easily.
They've had enough now.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a bite in them, but yeah, and then like you said, the melee at the end, Jordan Pickford well up for it as you'd expect.
He's just an instigator, and he's a proper instigator.
He actually, I can see why. Like he was a bit like when Richarlison played for us; it was the same thing. I can see why every other fan hates him, but we love him because they're such wind-up merchants.
He's so much worse than Richarlison, though, because Richarlison had he'd be nice to you in the game, or a bit nicer, but then it'd be on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff.
Yeah. Jordan Pickford will just
like shout stuff at you in the middle of the game, and you're like, if he didn't play for us, he'd probably be my least favorite player in the league. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I'd hate him. I'd hate his guts. But it's just
shots his own players as well. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like I get why it annoys other fans so much, but every team has it, don't they? As their player where. You know, I bet Brighton fans love João Pedro.
Yeah, and Arsenal fans are really loving Skelly from his Haaland celebration, and they love Gabriel as well, who's also...
I know we're not an Arsenal, so I still can't believe they could try to give Lewis Skelly a red card for that. I still can't believe it. But he's like, I think the game overall, it was like we said, Brighton dominated a lot of the ball, but I think we expected that. But the chances were just not there. Like we out XG'd them with 3 shots. They had 16. It's like I know a lot of those shots come towards the end where, where, and I think it said going in. I think this is insights going into the game, but at this point, Brighton hadn't lost in 7 matches as well. Apparently. I'm going to have to double check that because, before us, they hadn't lost in 7 games. They hadn't lost since the 15th of December against Palace. It was 4 draws, but then they were coming off 3 wins on the bounce, just coming off Man United. And then we've ended their season because after this game, they conceded 7.
Yeah. To a Nottingham Forest that during this weekend conceded
5 to
yeah. What an interesting Premier League this year has been. But I mean, and that brings us to the end of January as a whole.
Did anything else happen besides deadline day?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as a whole, good month, a lot better.
Really good, yeah.
It's not very often we sit on here and can have a laugh about it and enjoy the wins. So it's nice to see. Like I said, the fan base spirit seems to be at a high as well, which is always good to see. The stadium stuff's rolling out pretty quickly now. I know that's still the Sandhills, the car park has caused a bit of but people are getting their tickets now. And from what I've seen, a lot of people are happy with their seats.
It looks really good. Like the virtual thing they're doing where you can look at where you sat and you see the ticket. It looks really good. Yeah. I've got some optimism for February. There's obviously the one game that I'm terrified about, but to be honest with you, besides, right now, is Liverpool winnable? If we beat Bournemouth, I'd say it is.
Well, it'd be interesting for the Bournemouth game because we mentioned this month kicked off with that, and it was Sean Dyche's last game. it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's a cup game, so you don't know what they're going to do in terms, or what we're going to do in terms of rotation. But it'll be interesting to compare the two to a degree. You know, same team. It's a bit easier to compare.
I am going to put a bit of a mental shout out here. Genuinely, if we can beat Bournemouth and Liverpool or get a result, a draw against Liverpool as well, I don't think we lose a game in February. I think we basically go 2 months without losing a game, almost. Which it sounds mental, but like after Liverpool, it's Crystal Palace away, winnable. Man United at home, winnable. Brentford away, winnable. So it's like, and then I think it's 8. I think we've basically got decent fixtures, and then April is our December part 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, hopefully we've got another positive month upcoming. I'm quietly optimistic. That may change if we get 6-0 against Liverpool.
Well, looking at the table, we're already in a healthier spot. Obviously, the Liverpool game in hand is still on us. But, I mean, we're 10 points, nearly. We're 9 points off the drop zone.
With a game in hand, though, so like, even a draw puts us 10 points off.
We've got West Ham, United, and Tottenham all just above us. United are, I mean, 1 win puts us above all 3 of them.
Yeah. But I think them 3 are gonna start crawling up the table. I know Spurs are gonna start doing well again when players come back. Like, you know, look at some of the players they've got not out, man. They've got no defenders, basically. United, I don't know. United, I just, you know, they probably might stay around us, but there's just also I still can't ever picture United being that low in the table. And then I do see Palace, Brentford, and honestly, I see Brighton tumbling down the table a little bit as well. I just think we'll have to see, but 30-year-old manager losing 7-0, you know, it's just they're in the minuses in goal difference as well, which is like, so yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one because, to be honest with you, I think 10th to 16th. No, do you know what? 9th or even 8th to 16th could be. All it takes is one bad run of form for some of these teams. And
I was going to say, I think we can start looking to move up.
I think we'll finish similar to where we finished under Dyche with the points deduction last season. 13th, 12th. And do you know what, though? I think we're not going to go down. To be honest with you, I couldn't care if we finish 17th as long as we stay up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in the European spots, as long as you're not in the relegation zone, I mean, you want to see progress year on year anyway, but if you've just had a managerial change, it's a bit harder to do that.
If we beat Bournemouth, I'd much rather have 17th in a nice little cup run than 13th and we lost to Bournemouth. Because I know people are like, well, PSR's gone next year, I'm pretty sure they've changed, the rules have changed next year. So it's one of those where it's like, I'd rather have the excitement than the extra couple of million, considering they said 33 mil was available and we spent none of that. Let's say we sign Alcaraz, we've spent 15 million of that.
Someone big's going to go in the summer as well. I've got a horrible feeling.
I don't know, you know, like, because I think if we finish 13th, we are in a position where we can go. The only way you get Brentford is if you give us 100 mil.
I saw a rumour Real Madrid had sort of already been sniffing around.
Real Madrid aren't paying 100 mil for Brentford.
No.
The only way I can see it is Real Madrid might see if they can swap someone to us. But like, who from Real Madrid goes to Everton?
Yeah, who do you want who's going to actually want to do that?
If we could, I'd love to get that Brahim Diaz lad, the Moroccan lad, but I don't think he would. Because he's one of those where he's around the periphery, so he might want to move.
But we'll have to wait and see. But I think I saw a rumour, and it was a really, really they said the price because Carlisle get obviously I mean, it was a rumour on Twitter. It wasn't actually like BBC Sports rumours. It was a rumour on Twitter, but I think the amount that they were offering was a very, very good amount. But we'll have to wait and see. I'd be surprised if we don't end
Yeah,
up
and I
losing.
think Harry Maguire money. That's what we say basically. 80 if we can get more, try it. Start the negotiations at 100 mil. If Ancelotti does the FIFA thing and he gets up and just storms out, okay. I just I don't know. I just don't see why Real Madrid would want. It sounds weird because Bramflett's really good, but he don't feel Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? He's not star powery enough. Because even the young lads they've signed up are they were playing for France and stuff. Bramflett's not really being given a chance for England. I think he probably gets called up by Tuchel in March. I think I think the next international break he gets called up because we're towards the top of the league in clean sheets again. We've been really good in form, and I think he's been at a few Everton games. He was at us Spurs, I know that. So it's just one of those where honestly, I don't see any big sales in the summer because besides Brownfleet, who do they want? Does someone come in try get and die off us? Maybe. That's the thing is, I think we're still in a situation now where there's not that many sellable assets. To be honest with you, so it's Brownfleet or everyone stays. To be honest, everyone who's decent stays. Obviously.
Yeah, it'll be certainly going to be interesting. I mean, if we can keep him, fantastic. But
If we get 100 million for him, I love Bramfleet, but I'm not losing sleep over getting because I do think O'Brien's a good enough replacement, and I think Tarkovsky's still got one or two good level years into him anyway before he becomes more of a rotation option.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But for January though, that is done. Obviously, we are in at the time of recording this. Just to pull the curtain back ever so slightly, it is February. We've already had one game, and we're heading into the Bournemouth game as we've referenced. We will be back at the end of February. You potentially think that they're all winnable if we can get past Bournemouth and Liverpool.
If we're going from what we've seen, unless the squad falls off a cliff, we should be. Yeah. Even Liverpool, we should be not in the game as in going for the win. We should be in it to the point where we're causing them some trouble. Liverpool are. I hate to say it, they are probably the best team in the world right now, generally. But I don't know. I think we should be putting up a fight at least against Liverpool, and then the only way I see us losing games is if Liverpool losing as in Dyche level is Liverpool stomp us 4 or 5. There's not an answer, which again it is possible because that I unfortunately do think they're probably the best team in the world. I actually think they are. There's a painful part of me that thinks they're gonna win the Champions League and the Premier League, which kills me to say, but unfortunately that's the way it is right now. So we'll have to see. But it would be nice because if we can beat them, that then means they only have 6 points on Arsenal, which I do think Arsenal have turned a corner a little bit when it comes to going forward. I think putting 5 past Man City, if Moyes does his old player a favour, and then all of a sudden I think the Premier League title race becomes a lot more interesting then. But we'll have to see. I think it's one of those where a lot of it is dependent on this Liverpool game, which does sound weird because of how good they are, but getting thumped in the derby, it's a confidence killer for any team. It don't matter how good your rivals are compared to you.
Yeah, no, anything but a thumping would do that, to be honest, in my opinion.
A 1-0 loss, and if we play well, we play well. Even honestly, if it ends 2 or 3, and it's one of those where the last 2 goals are because we've tried to go for it at the end, yeah, it happens. Cool, move on. As long as we don't get absolutely thumped, and it looks like that. It's Liverpool versus a pub side. Anything but that, to be honest with you, because look, this is the best I've seen them since Liverpool, since those back-to-back the Champions League and then the Premier League year. It's best they've looked. They've probably got the best player in the world right now, so it's one of those where you take what you're given against a team like that. And I don't like praising Liverpool. It makes me feel a bit sick to say it, but that's the way it is. And I think this is going to be, if we can get a result out of that, it shows that this team is a lot better than they were given credit for, and that one man is going to have to shoulder more of the blame, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully David Moyes can come back to his first Merseyside derby or win. But that is all we've got time for. Don't forget to like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Give your thoughts on January down below, rated out of 10. I feel like they've been quite high. There's not been that much to be upset about this month. Cal, thank you for joining me, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me again.
And we'll see you guys very soon.